Okay, so now for the last thing that you'll be needing is the pattern pieces. I got my pattern pieces off of the Simplicity, they're like Simplicity little pattern packets, and each of these packets come with, it's basically tracing paper, but like for your patterns, and each of these come with your pattern paper, and it helps you with 5 different designs. I decided to go with this little design here for the jacket that I'll be making. It looks like that, but I will be simplifying this whole thing because these little packets come with literally everything that you need in tracing. It comes with the interfacing patterns, and it also comes with the pleating patterns. This jacket originally has pleating on the back of the jacket, but I don't want to have pleating because it's just going to be a fur, just plain simple fur jacket. So I simplified everything and I just cut out the 3 main pattern pieces that I feel like I'll be needing. I would really recommend you to have a interfacing on this around the neckline and around the armholes, but I won't be using a lining for this jacket because I honestly just don't have fabric that will suit this color of fur, and I know like no one else is going to be seeing the inside of the jacket, but it would really bother me if I added like a really ugly just lining. And I don't mind this lining at all, like the other side of this fabric. It's not itchy or anything. It's actually really nice, so I don't really mind that, but I would really recommend you to have a fabric that you can line your jacket with so that you can add the interfacing in between the 2 fabrics. But again, this is just a simple, like a really simple version of making the jacket. So the only 3 pattern pieces that you'll be needing are, oh, and then in order to make patterns, you just have to measure yourself, get your measurements, and then create these pattern pieces. These little Simplicity packets actually come with like built-in sizing with your patterns. So for example, here I just show you what I mean by that. This particular pattern came with the size extra small to extra large, and so I decided to go with the large because I would like my fur jacket to be a little spacious, because I know that I'll be using this during the winter time and fall, so I'll probably have like sweaters underneath this jacket, and I want to be able to move around without having the sleeves be really tight on me. So I decided to go with large instead of my normal size medium. And basically the 3 pattern pieces that you'll be needing are one front pattern piece. So this is going to be like the front of your jacket. We'll be cutting 2 of these out, so you only need 1 of these. And then you'll need the back of your jacket. This will be cut on a fold, so you will make the whole back of your jacket. I know it says back with pleat here, but again, we're not going to be using the pleating. And then we're going to use the sleeve. I kind of mistrimmed it here, but yeah, this is just going to be your sleeve, and then we'll be cutting 2 of these out to make the 2 sleeves. So this is just the shapes that you'll be needing for your pattern pieces. Again, measure around your arms and your waist and like all your measurements, and then you'll be creating these patterns. Once you have the patterns, we'll move on to the next step. Okay, and then the next step is to set your pattern pieces in a way that they'll fit on the fabric. As you can see, I was kind of a little short on my fabric, on the amount of fabric that I had, because I don't have a lot of seam allowance on all the edges of my patterns. But so I would suggest you to buy a little bit more fabric than what you think you'll need, determining on what size you are and how big your pattern pieces are going to be. I thought this would be enough, but obviously I'm a little short. All my pattern pieces fit on the fabric fine. It's just the whole seam allowance that I'm kind of missing, but I can work with it. It's fine. Just make sure that your certain pattern pieces are placed in the way that they should be. So for example, on the back piece of your jacket, it says cut 1 on fold. So you'll be cutting 1 of this out, but on the fold of the fabric. So when you fold your fabric, place the end on the fold so that when you cut 1 out, it's going to be the whole back. and then the other two doesn't matter where you place them, just make sure they fit, because we'll be needing 2 of those pieces anyway, so it doesn't really matter. This is the best way that I can put them that it'll fit all the pattern pieces in. So yeah, just do that, and then the next step will be just to cut out all the patterns. Okay, so that made a mess, but so be aware of that if you're using fur, it gets everywhere. But this is the look at all that, oh my goodness. This is the back piece, so this is the pattern that you cut on a fold so that you can create the back piece of the jacket. These are the 2 sleeves that you cut out. So you cut out 2 separate pieces of these and then you fold them in half, and this is how they'll look. They look a little wompy right now, but that's just because they're not put together, and this is like fur fabric and not normal fabric. And then the last 2 pieces are the front pieces of the jacket itself. So you'll be cutting 2 of those out, and then that will be like the front of the jacket. So I'm going to have to backtrack just a little bit, because as I thought about it, I have to add a lining to this jacket, because the raw edges would just bother me too much, and then if I were to fold the edges and then sew them down, then the inside of the jacket would just have this like fur lining on the inside, and that would just bother me too. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna have to add this like white silky material as the lining. I really did not want to use this fabric because it just doesn't match to me. Like, this silk does not match the fur, and this is just going to be the inside of the jacket, so it's not like everyone's going to see it, but if I were to take it off, you could just see, like, I don't know, it just doesn't match to me. It kind of does if you like pay close attention, because it has like, the fur has a little bit of white in it, but I really personally wanted to use this beige silk fabric on this, because this would look so much better than the white, but I do not have enough of this for the whole jacket. I have enough for maybe 2 sleeves, and that's it. So obviously that's not enough. So I'm just gonna have to go with this white silky material. It's fine. I just prefer something better. If you have fabric that will match the fur that you have, then use it, obviously. So with the lining, you basically just cut out the same shapes of the fur fabric. So just use your old patterns that you've used. Lay out one of your patterns and then put it on top of the silk pattern, cut it out. Same thing that you did with the fur. And then so I cut out all the silk pieces that I needed. And then the next step is that you're going to be putting the right sides together. So the fur is going to be facing up and the silk is going to be facing down, like that. And then you're going to be grabbing pins and pinning all the way around your piece, except you're going to be leaving an opening wherever you want. I'd suggest the bottom just because it's less visible, but I'll be leaving an opening this big so that when you're done sewing all the way around it, you're going to be able to flip it inside out. So just pin all the way around it on each piece, on the sleeves, on the front sides, and this is the back. And then the next step will just be to sew all the way around, which I will show you.
When you're not around and I'm feeling down, so won't you stay?
Okay, so after you are done sewing the fur onto the silk, you're going to have an opening at the bottom, because that's the only way that you'll be able to flip it inside out, and the opening will look like this. But all you have to do is just fold the silk over like this, and then fold the fur over one time, and then you will just top stitch all the way as close to the end as possible along the silk, and the opening will end up being closed, and it'll just look like that. And after, obviously, you'll have a bunch of separated pieces with the silk and the fur on each side, but I went along and just sewed this top part of the jacket onto the back just so that you could see how it'll look. And basically you just sew this side of the top to this side, and then the top to the top of the back. It's pretty self-explanatory. So you just sew here and here, but you have to make sure that it is inside out like this. So you'll end up sewing right here, and then the same thing with the back, with the top. And if you have any access to a serging machine, I would recommend you to just serge these parts because it just ends up looking cleaner. If you don't have a serging machine, it'll end up looking like this unless you use like the zigzag stitch, then that could be like the same result as a serging machine. Okay, and then as for the sleeves, I decided not to add silk to the sleeves because I feel like I wouldn't like the feel of silk on my arms. I don't know why, I just feel like I don't know, I just feel like I would not like it. So I decided not to add lining to the sleeves, but it's personally like, it's up to you. I just decided I wouldn't. And you will just sew the sleeve shut like this. I just added a bunch of pins because I know that I wouldn't be able to line it up myself because of all the fur. So I put pins on. You'll be sewing that part of the sleeve. That'll become a sleeve, but then you have to leave at least an inch left around so that you can sew this part of the sleeve onto the jacket itself. So I left enough to be able to sew this onto the jacket. So that is just the next step. Okay, so the next part is going to be how to attach the sleeves onto the jacket itself. So I already attached one of the sleeves here, and it's attached. So what you're gonna do is your sleeves, when they're sewn, they should be looking somewhat like this. So this is gonna be the shoulder part of the sleeve, and this is gonna be like the armpit part. So you're gonna grab the armhole of one of your sleeves, and then you're going to stick the sleeve in to the hole like this, and then you're going to get the top of the sleeve and the bottom and even it out with the seam on the side of the jacket. And then when you find that, you're going to just pin them. So I'll show you from the top because it's easier. So the top of the sleeve, pin it to the top of the jacket like this. You're going to take a pin and then just pin that part down. And then you're just going to go all the way around the armhole and do the same step until you go all the way around. To sew down the sleeve, I just remove this part of my sewing machine so that it's thinner and the armhole can go in there like this. And you will just sew all the way around the armhole. Just gotta be careful so that you don't stick yourself with the pins. It's happened to me multiple times already. So it'll just fit the armhole like that, and then you'll just sew all the way around. And then while you sew, you're just going to have to turn it. It's kind of really hard to explain, but hopefully you guys understand what I mean.